To start with, I'd like to show you a screening of a short video program. هنبتدي حفل الليلة بمشاهدة فيديو مش هياخد وقت كتير، حوالي 7 دقايق تشوفوه بعدين نكمل.
According to the beliefs of the ancient Egyptians, an intact corpse was required for the afterlife. They imagined that the soul of the deceased returned to the tomb each night and once there was reunited with the body. A person was therefore restored in their entirety in a similar state to the way they were during their lifetime. This idea made the preservation of the body essential. The mummification process is supposed to have taken 70 days. First, the brain was removed through the nose with a hook. This organ, which is so important to us, seemed to the Egyptians to have merely been a kind of filler material for the head and was therefore considered worthless. Resin was poured into the empty cranial cavity. The body was then cut open on the left side in order to remove the internal organs. After this, the abdominal cavity was cleaned and the body was covered with natron powder to preserve it. Finally, the abdominal cavity was stuffed with filling. The heart was put back in its place because it was considered to be the seat of the soul. The embalmers then anointed the body with fragrant oils. To prevent the mummified limbs from breaking off, they wrapped the body in linen bandages. For 3,000 years, the black, jackal-headed god Anubis lay with his silver claws like a silent guardian on a gilded litter and kept watch over the entrance to the treasury of King Tutankhamun. Behind Anubis, Howard Carter found a gilded sculpture of the head of the celestial cow. Inside the chamber was the canopic shrine, containing the king's mummified viscera. 4 gilded goddesses in tight-fitting pleated garments stand at the 4 sides between 4 inscribed posts. They are exquisitely beautiful works of art. These are the goddesses Isis, Selkit, Neith, and Nephthys. All bear their symbol on their heads. Isis wears a throne, Selkit a scorpion, Neith 2 bows, and Nephthys a basket and a house. The goddesses protect this magnificent shrine with outstretched arms. The completely gilded reliefs on the four sides show the canopic gods. These are the four sons of Horus and the guardian gods of the internal organs. Another god stands in front of each of these. Two friezes of cobras with sun discs ward off any danger. The canopic shrine stands on a sled because it was once pulled over the desert sand to the tomb. When Howard Carter opened the shrine, he discovered a chest made of alabaster with four wonderfully carved stone heads of the king. These also represent the four guardian gods of the internal organs. Inside them were four small mummy-shaped coffins. Each of the miniature coffins was made of gold. The outer casing was inlaid with cells of colored glass and precious stones, while the decorations in the inner casing were engraved. In these small coffins were the king's mummified organs, namely the lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines. Howard Carter discovered about 150 amulets and other pieces of jewelry within the bandages of Tutankhamun's mummy alone. She found additional jewelry in some of the chests and boxes. From later mummies, we know that the amulets were placed over the body according to a fixed pattern in order to guarantee the magical protection of various body parts and organs. Countless amulets, collars, and pectorals were strung around the neck in particular and secured with thin linen threads. On the chest of the mummy, directly below the mask, lay two crossed hands made of polished gold plate holding royal insignia. The hands were sewn onto the mummy casing. A scarab beetle made from resin was embedded between them. Beneath this, a ba bird with a human head unfurls his wings. This ba rested in the body at night. He is the immortal and free-roaming part of the human soul. Four horizontal strips and one vertical strip of sheep gold with inlaid text mimic the bindings with which the shroud was fixed to the mummy. After the precious overlays had been lifted free from the wrapped mummy, the bandages could be removed layer by layer, which revealed countless amulets and other jewelry. On the chest there lay several necklaces in the shape of vultures, falcons, and cobras, as well as heavy pendants, one on top of the other. Bracelets encased the forearms in dense rows. This dagger with the elaborate handle is made from iron, which was very unusual at this time. This magnificent diadem had to be broken up into parts. The band of the diadem was found on the head of Tutankhamun's mummy. In order to be able to place the golden mask onto Tutankhamun, the vulture's head and snake had to be removed and placed on the mummy's thighs. Here we would like to show you some of the most beautiful objects from Tutankhamun's burial treasure.
After we saw this beautiful screening of this big book of the latest, The Legend of Tutankhamun, the latest production of the worshipper of the young king, Dr. Zahi Hawass, let me introduce to you a beautiful lady who's got PhD in drama. She loved ancient Egypt. She performed lots of ancient Egyptian stories about Tutankhamun, Nefertiti, etc., etc. And today she is going to give us a little performance, an amalgamation of all this in honor of this recent or last, the 10th book of Dr. Zahi Hawass. Sit Samira Korolos. Give a big hand to Samira Korolos, please. سميرة كورولوس عاشقة لمصر الفرعونية، وكتبت عدة كتب ونشرت عدة كتب، ومثلت حاصلة على PhD في الدراما من عدة جامعات كثيرة جدا. النهاردة تقديرا لدور الدكتور زكي حواس في كتاباته التسعة السابقة والروعة في الكتاب العاشر الأخير اللي موجود حاليا، The Legend أو أسطورة توتعنخمون، سميرة كورولوس قررت أنها تدينا عرض مصغر بمجموعة الأشياء اللي هي قدمتها قبل ذلك بعدة لغات، منها الإسبانية والفرنسية والإنجليزية. وبس إذا سمحتوا نحيي مع بعض سميرة كورولوس.
Mad. I am very mad. Not at all you wonderful people here tonight, not at the two remarkable men who have honored me with a beautiful book about what was found in my tomb.
Please could you يعني إذا سمحتوا عايزين نسمع ما تقدمه لنا الفنانة سميرة كورولوس إذا سمحتوا.
If people talk, when I talk to you, I shall be really mad. Please, honor the boy king, who is mad not because of the two remarkable men who have honored me with a beautiful book about the belongings that were found in my tomb. But because I have been dismissed at being just a boy king who did nothing with his life, so I accepted to come here tonight from the other side, from the underworld, to talk to you, because I want you to know me a bit better, and I want to prove to you that I did something with my life. I speak for the young and the child in you. You all knew things when you were young and often were dismissed. I was born Tutankhaten. I was born in Akhenaten, the city that my father built. My father was Akhenaten. Thank you. Yes, I am Akhenaten's son. For a long time, people didn't know about this. But if you do not believe in DNA, then go to Ashmudeb. There is a slab of stone there on which is written, it could only have been written by my father, my beloved son from my own body, Tutankhaten, that was me. It's loud enough. The mic is loud enough. The mic is loud enough. I am also the son of my father's sister, and this is why I was born disabled. It's incest. Why do I say that I did something with my life? For many reasons. I was born a royal son and heir, well-trained, well-educated. Disability gives people a certain vision. And I could see what was going on. In the quietness of Ahetaten, that is now called Amarna since the 19th century, I could observe, I could think. I also inherited a lot of my father's characteristics. He was a genius. He was single-minded. He was stubborn. And he hated it when people talked and interrupted him. Anyway, my father did all sorts of things, and I observed what he did. He changed the capital from Thebes to Ahetaten to worship this one God he believed in, the arter, the creator of everything. He eliminated the god Amun and all the other gods that Egyptians believed in. Osiris remained for some time. Anyway, he did this. He changed the art to a more realistic form of art. He changed his name from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun. Akhenaten was Amenhotep IV. He was born Amenhotep IV, but he changed his name to Akhenaten because of the art. He had eyes only for his beautiful wife Nefertiti. They were a power couple. And for the art. They had 6 daughters. I had 6 half-sisters. One of them I married before I was king. I loved Anhesenpaten. She understood me. She was sensitive. Eventually she brought me flowers and jewels and palm fronds. I had the soul of a poet like my father. She really felt for me, and she helped me. And I loved her as my father had loved his Nefertiti. I am 9 when I inherit the throne. When he dies, I don't inherit right away, no. There is Menkaure. Who he is still being debated. I know, but I won't tell you. Was it Nefertiti? When I am 9, I rise upon the throne of my father. Yes, the Vizier Eye is there to guide me. Yes, General Horemheb takes care of me. Do you know, I liked him. He saw this disabled child. Thank you.
أقول لكم يا اللي هيتكلم هتجيب على الدكتور على الليل.
القاعة أصلها الإيكو فيها جامد جدا، يعني مجرد الهمس بيبان صورة كبيرة. وسميرة هانم يعني بتحاول وحاطة ميكروفون، لكن برضو السقف العالي ده بتاع زمان يبدو ان اللعنة وصلت دكتور زاهي. Sorry, Samira.
It's all right, Samir.
I'm just trying to explain that the echo is terrible here. I know that.
But they're going to get the curse of Tutankhamun. You wait and see, right?
I would recommend that you continue with my microphone, which is much better, if you can hold. Okay.
I liked Horemheb. I liked him because he saw my disabled body and he said, I will make you strong. And he taught me to ride the chariots, bow and arrow. I could aim, I could hunt, I could do everything. And he taught me to war, and I warred. So I did things. You see, dangers take place gradually, not overnight. After a couple of years, and because of this incident, you know how when you're a young person or a child, something marks you. I remember the time my grandmother, Queen T, was she strong, was she powerful, came down from her residence in Akhmim. She had several residences, as we did. We sometimes lived in Memphis, not only in Akhtaten. Beautiful place, calm, I could think there. And she stormed in, and she sat my father down, and she told him, what do you think you are doing? The army have nothing to do. You have this pacifist policy. Your father extended the Egyptian empire. With you, it's shrinking. The priests of Amun, furious. You have eroded their power and their wealth. Just the art. You're a despot. You are obliging the Egyptian people to worship just the Aten. As for the foreign rulers, your father had extended the empire. It's shrinking. They do not respect you. What you call today the Amarna tablets, letters in Akkadian written by foreign rulers begging for help, begging for generosity. He does not give anything. The country was in ruins. The country was going bankrupt. He's visionary, just worshipping the Aten. Guess what? After this explosion, my father did nothing at all. But I had heard it all. And so, when I rose to the throne of Egypt, I decided to change things. A couple of years later, I and Horemheb all wanted this. We moved the capital back to Thebes. Oh yes, and the important thing is that Aten, that god, was abolished. And Amun was reinstated, and this is when my name was changed from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun, and my beloved Ankhesenaten became Ankhesenamun. So, I or Horemheb wrote this, and they were quite right. History sometimes repeats itself. The country was in ruins. The temples to the gods were rubbish heaps, overgrown with weeds. You could drive chariots through them. They were used as roads. You prayed to a god, he wouldn't listen. You prayed to your goddess, she turned her back upon this land. But Tutankhamun rose upon the throne of his father. And in my restoration stele, this is what was ordered. All the temples of Amun will be reinstated. There will be a statue made of electrum from finest lands, jewels, precious things. All the sanctuaries will be redone, and more. And this will exist through the length and breadth of Egypt. Saqqara, Memphis, Abydos, Nubia, everywhere the temples will be restored. there will be my representation on statues of my face. So the art changed from what was called the Amana art. Gradually, the art became Tutankhamunesque. Name is changed, capital is changed, God is changed. I made peace with the foreign rulers that my father had antagonized, and so it was that I had decided with all this that with Amun we would attend, the Opet festival would start again, all the festivals and palaces associated with temples. So I was determined to become the best pharaoh Egypt had ever had. I remember the night before I died, I told Amun, all this, the 9 years, have been but a beginning. I was a little over the age of 18. I told her, I promise you that from now on and with you by my side, I will dedicate my life to becoming the best pharaoh Egypt has ever had. And I will make Egypt prosper. And there will be laughter in the land of Egypt. And the next day, you must never feel invincible. I was in Memphis and I rode my chariot wildly, passionately, recklessly. Accidents happen very quickly. I do not know what happened. The chariot overturned, a wheel hit my bad leg. Pharaoh has had an accident. They took me up. They rushed me to that palace. I went there and they tried to save me. Priests, and I was doing well. It had gangrene, but I could live, except that a mosquito bit me. Malaria. The city of Akhetaten got buried under the sand. My father's images and fetitis were hacked out. They were made unrecognizable. Tutankhamun buried, and you know about the book and my belongings. We died from history. We were forgotten. The Ramesside kings obliterated us from history. And then the comeback. 1714. Charles Sikar, a Jesuit priest, gets fascinated by the boundary stele of Akhetaten. And it goes on into the 19th century. Napoleon's experts make the first map. And then the series of Egyptologists. Hay and Lepus and Burckhardt and Pendelbury, the Egypt Exploration Fund, everybody. Akhenaten is discovered. He becomes like a cult. 1912, Burckhardt. The bust of Nefertiti, now it's still in Berlin, is discovered. The most beautiful woman in the world. The icon, the legend is reborn. 1922, Howard Carter. The rest is history. Wonderful thing. The rest is history. And so, we three icons, Tutankhamun, that then produced Egyptomania, Tatmania throughout the world, we lived again. And we will live for centuries to come, because Egypt is eternal. What they please. I have one request. May I please? Nothing is perfect. Not even, especially not this mask. But what I would like you to do is, having heard me, is to look behind your mask and those around you. And when you think and encounter me, my father and Nefertiti, think of us as humans who lived and laughed and cried and hoped and despaired. We were all like you once. Thank you very much. Thank you for your honor.
Thank you for being here. شكرا للفنانة سميرة كورولوس. والتجمع اللي احنا فيه الليلة دي في هذا المكان التاريخي أيضا يتناسب مع اللونشنج للكتاب العاشر لزاهي حواس The Legend of Tutankhamun. ووجودنا هنا الليلة دي يعني أحب إن أنا أشكر بعض الناس اللي ساهموا وساعدوا في إن احنا نتواجد الليلة لهذا الاحتفال الكبير، لأن كتاب من زاهي حواس مش حاجة محلية، حاجة عالمية بترج الأوساط الثقافية والفنية في جميع أنحاء العالم. كتب التسعة اللي قبل كده عملت كده، وده العاشر اللي هو بيقول عليه آخر كتاب أشك، لأن طالما في نبض حياة عند زاهي حواس هيلاقي أساطير وقصص وحكايات لمعشوقه الأول الملك الصغير. أشكر Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the sponsors who have helped us getting together at this historic event, the launching of the 10th book of Dr. Zahi Hawass, which usually is a big event all over the world. I'd like to thank, first of all, the staff, the regional manager, and all the people of the great Marriott Hotel. Give them a big hand. A great friend, a great sponsor always for whatever artistic or cultural events. Mr. Salah Diab.
By surprise, but
Hello.
all right, this is the way to do it. All right. I say that whenever I wondered what kind of present I can offer a dignitary or someone of value, I couldn't find anything better than one of Zahi's books. First of all, they saved me the embarrassment, and they saved me something else, the misunderstanding and the misconstruing the meaning of the gift. It gives me honor when I present one of Zahi's books. The most important thing is if this book is compiled and written by this famous Egyptian, and then what gives it more value and what makes it go really beyond when it's privileged to be donated by our First Lady by choice and by free will. Thank you, Mil. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Sonia Block on behalf of Archaeological Parks, Ambassador Mohammed Aurabi on behalf of Shafiq Gabra Foundation, Luca Trombi on behalf of Joint, and I'd like a very big thanks to a lover of ancient Egypt. And he considers the event of the discovery of Tutankhamun as the legend of the century. Ladies and gentlemen, give a very big hand to Mr. Chris Norton.
Hello everybody, can you hear me? Okay, good. It's a great honour and a privilege to be here among you this evening to help Dr. Zahi to launch his latest book. I'm sure that you all know that the tomb of Tutankhamun, the discovery of the century, perhaps the discovery of any century, was made by Howard Carter in 1922. Without Tutankhamun, Howard Carter would be remembered as a good archaeologist, an excellent draftsman, somebody who made some interesting discoveries, but beyond the archaeological world, he perhaps wouldn't be remembered at all. It's his crowning glory, his crowning achievement, the discovery of this tomb, for which he's remembered, and for which he was elevated to the status of perhaps the most celebrated archaeologist there has ever been. Howard Carter first journeyed to Egypt in 1891 as a teenage artist. And he was working at that time for the Egypt Exploration Society. And as the director of that organisation, which is still flourishing today in London and Cairo, I'm pleased to say, I'm very proud of the association with Howard Carter. And all the traces of Carter that he left behind, his drawings, photographs, descriptions, which were published by the Society in its reports, his beautiful paintings, his handwritten letters, which are now in our archives. Whenever we uncover anything like this back in London, it gives us something of a thrill, just to have that connection with the man and with Tutankhamun. Carter settled in Luxor at the end of the 19th century and became the chief inspector of antiquities in Upper Egypt. And this allowed him to pursue numerous aims, notably to preserve many of the tombs in the Valley of the Kings and what we now think of as the Valley of the Nobles, but also to further his own archaeological ambitions as well. He spent many years excavating in the Theban region, and a few years leading up to 1922 working in the Valley of the Kings with the financial support of the Earl of Carnarvon. At this time, many people considered that there was nothing left for him to find. Many people considered that the valley was exhausted, to give it Theodore Davis's word. And this is really the genius, I think, of Carter's discovery, or at least the genius of the genesis of that discovery. It was his perseverance, his determination that there was something left to find. And I was pleased to see that Dr. Zahi alludes to this in the opening of his new book. There was more to find in 1922, there is still more to find now. When he made a small opening in the entranceway, which he discovered at the bottom of a descending passageway leading into the rock, and looked upon what he could see beyond for the first time, Carter realized that he had made a discovery of wonderful things, a discovery which would outshine anything that even Hollywood could imagine. I'm not going to try and describe all of those objects. I've tried it before, and they defy description. And we have a new book to celebrate today to give us some of the details as well. But to try and capture some of the enormity of the whole of the discovery, I gave this some thought today. First of all, there's the number. How many objects would you say were discovered in the tomb of Tutankhamun? You may not know that it's well over 5,000. It's not often appreciated either that Carter didn't uncover 5,000 objects all in one go. He couldn't see them all from this little opening in the doorway. It was several months before he was able to approach the burial chamber. And there he would find a gilded shrine. Within that, further gilded shrines, a sarcophagus, a series of gilded coffins, a solid gold coffin. And it wasn't until 2 years after the initial discovery of the tomb that he would finally arrive upon the mummy and the death mask. Many of these objects are the very finest in their class, the very finest of their kind that has ever been discovered in Egypt. Many of them are entirely unique. We know of some classes of objects only because they were found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. And this quantity and variety has utterly defeated us Egyptologists. Almost a century after the initial discovery of the tomb, the vast majority of those objects remain unknown, and certainly most of them are almost entirely studied and properly published. And let's just think about that death mask for a moment as well, the most iconic of all of those monuments. It's the single most iconic image that we have from ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun was barely a footnote in the history books at the time of Carter's great discovery. And in fact, the discovery of the tomb hasn't really transformed our knowledge of the boy king's life, his achievements, the great events of his times, but it has transformed his fame. That mask has given us a face that all the world can remember. A perfectly beautiful face, 3,500 years old, and yet eternally youthful, and maybe also useful. He's held that gaze now for more than 3 millennia. We know his image so well, and yet there is no doubt still more to discover about Tutankhamun and his times. Howard Carter's successor, as perhaps the most celebrated archaeologist the world knows, Dr. Zahi, is helping us now with this book, the latest in his many publications on the tomb, to uncover new insights, new information about Tutankhamun and his treasures, and to give us new discoveries for the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Norton. طيب. كل الرعاة لهم كل الشكر. بداية زي ما أنا قلت بماريوت، من مديرين إلى ستاف إلى كل واحد هنا. سوري إن القاعدة هي لأنها دي جوه القصر ما فيهاش، القاعة ليست مكيفة يعني، لأنه لما خدوا الأوتيل ما حبوش إنهم يعملوا فيها إضافات. خليني أقول ما فيش، ريحيني. Anyway, من ضمن الرعاة among the sponsors, I'd like to give the microphone to Sonia Block on behalf of Archaeological Paths.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sonia Block and I'm here on behalf of Archaeological Paths Company, and I would like to thank all the guests of today's event and thank the organizers for all their hard work, and thank Dr. Zaki Hawass for being here with us. As Archaeological Paths Company, we organize special tours of Egypt with in-depth sightseeing, and we have this great honor to cooperate with Dr. Hawass as our special guest speaker. And during the tours, Dr. Hawass shares his knowledge with our participants on the history of this fascinating country of Egypt. We decided to become sponsors of the new book by Dr. Hawass because we know that it will be a great souvenir for all our guests, and there can be no better souvenir to bring back home after the 2 weeks in this marvelous country. The Legend of Tutankhamun is a unique publication because it's dedicated to the most famous pharaoh of the ancient world, and also it has beautiful, exquisite photographs that really bring out the beauty of Egyptian antiquities. As an archaeological company, we are happy that we can take part in promoting the new safe image of Egypt and do it for the international community. There is no other country that can compete with Egypt in the number of antiquities, and no other country has such a great representative as Dr. Zahi Hawass, who, thanks to his great charisma and passion, has brought the Egyptian antiquities closer than ever to the people around the world. Thank you for that, Dr. Hawass, and we hope you will continue your great work for the future of Egypt. We are also very proud that we will also be able to continue our work of opening Egypt to people from all over the globe and showing them how to discover the beauty of this country. Thank you very much.
Luca Trombi on behalf of Joint.
I think you can hear me. Okay, when Sandro, he approached me almost 1 year ago, he was telling me I have a great project and I have done it with Dr. Zaki Hawass. And I said, what? About what? About Tutankhamun. And I told him, come on, everybody already talked about Tutankhamun. Everybody already said about Tutankhamun. Everybody already wrote about Tutankhamun. Then he showed me something which is very special. The book they have done is a fantastic book. It is actually a step change from whatever we have done before. So I approached and I said to Sandro, okay, I will participate, I will put some money, but please, now is the time for you to book it and purchase it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. وحان الآن نستمع إلى عاشق الملك الصغير. إلى 9 كتب مش كفاية، والعاشر والبقية قادما إن شاء الله. زاهي حواس بالنسبة لنا أو بالنسبة لكل المصريين في الخارج هو سفير السفراء. استطاع فعلا أنه ينقل حبه لبلده وحبه لتاريخ بلدنا العظيم إلى جميع أنحاء العالم بكاريزمته الخفيفة المحببة، ويخلي تتسابق الجامعات والمحافل الاجتماعية والفنية والثقافية انهم يحظوا بمحاضرة من زاهي حواس. زاهي حواس مش هقول الوزير، مش هقول الاثري، مش هقول الاركيولوجيست، عاشق توت عنخ آمون. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give a big hand to زاهي حواس.